you had a podcast with Bill Gates where you were just talking about the world and pondering like big questions with Bill Gates and Rashida Jones.
Casual podcasting, yeah.
This week's Keep It guest is an exceptional talent who cemented herself as a comedic powerhouse in shows like Parks and Rec and Angie Tribeca. But now she's entering her Mystery Girl era in Sunny, the new sci-fi thriller series now streaming on Apple TV+. Please welcome to Keep It, Rashida Jones.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a delight to have you.
Okay, about this show, I didn't realize until watching it how little good serialized television I had in my life at the moment. Ira and I are very obsessed with reality TV right now, which is sort of our summer want. But this takes us right back into, okay, there's actually some intrigue going on, different genres being mixed. And also, I mean, it's such an extreme production. And I realize you had to stay in Japan for like a year in order to make this show. Like your life is utterly transformed because of this show.
It really is. 6 months, but still, I was still, that qualifies as transformation.
Okay.
But yeah, totally.
So
yes.
Talk about just becoming part of this show and what you thought of it versus what it actually ended up becoming and became successfully. The show is so engrossing.
Thank you. God, that's so nice. Yeah, I think actually the show was the kind of best version of the thing that it always purported to be since the beginning. You know, things morph over time. They change. They take on a different life. But this very much kind of knew what it was when it came to me. There was a beautiful deck and scripts and a playlist. Like the vibe was there already. And really, they just like realized it to the nth degree, which is really nice because that doesn't always happen. There's a lot that can go wrong in between.
And this show is obviously, you know, you're paired with a robot. It's about AI. What is your relationship with technology? And how did your relationship with technology sort of change while working on this show? If
No, I mean, it did. I mean, I was like an early tech adopter. You know, I'm like Gen X and I had like a modem. I had like a dial-up modem and a printer, which put me way ahead of my classmates. Like I was like really rocking the floppy disks really hard. And then something changed along the way. And I was like, never mind, I'm out. I couldn't keep up anymore. But I've always been really interested about like tech and humanity and how the two things might merge one day and how, you know, we could be fooled or not fooled by, you know, these almost, you know, these verisimilitudes of humanity. And I feel like the thing that I never thought about before the show is the home for the thing. Like I know there's been so many movies and TV shows about robots, but like having something next to you that like emotes and has expressions and can touch you changes everything. Like I feel like everybody's obsessed with like, you know, OpenAI and Midjourney and ChatGPT, and it does feel very scary, mainly because it's kind of disembodied. But then it's like maybe even scarier when it has a body because you do find yourself very quickly responding to it like it's maybe human. You know,
were there any actual like bone chilling moments on set making this, you know, sometimes bone chilling show?
Wouldn't it be crazy if I was like, yeah, one time we weren't filming and the robot just started talking to me and nobody knew where the voice was coming from?
Yeah.
Hello, Rashida. Would you like me to get you something from craft service?
Yeah, I want to smoke. Yeah.
No, you know, unfortunately, it still took a lot of like very talented people, robotics people, and voice actor Joanna Sotomura, who plays Sunny, to like make this thing actually feel real. So like it didn't feel so real that I was like, man, it's crazy. This is here and it's here now. But there were times when like, you know, I was acting in scenes with this thing. So yes, I would feel things. And then the minute they would like power her down, I'd be like, "Well, Sunny," I would feel like I was losing her. And it all happened very quickly. Like even though you know it's not real, you still you get caught up. You know.
I also like this character as sort of a departure for you. She has a sort of resting I guess I would say angst, really. I mean, a lot of is happening to this character
That's
in this
not
show,
where I
too.
thought you were going
Yeah.
with that.
Oh, no.
Resting angst.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Did it feel like a new kind of character for you to play, too?
Totally. Yes. This in some ways is the furthest away from anybody that I've ever played. Like, I'm not like some great method character actor, so I tend to play people who are somewhat related to my real personality. Not all the way, but like this is very different for me. I hope I'm not this difficult to be around. I think less misanthropic than Susie. I think I like people a little bit more than her. I don't seek out to be like completely alone, and I don't push people away by just like cursing at them all day. I don't think. I have to ask my friends.
Well, speaking about like roles that you've taken on, obviously, we know you for your comedic prowess, and now you're trying out, the angst with this. I loved your documentary about your father, Quincy, and it's always interesting to me that you haven't really done a project where it seems like you're doing music, like whether you're singing or like you're like immersed in like a character, like it would almost make sense if you were in that High Fidelity reboot, instead of Zoe, and it's like, is that something that interests you in sort of writing about the music world, or are you just sort of like you're happy to have music in your life in one way and you keep it separate?
I love music. It's a stupid thing to say because I don't know that many people who don't love music, but I did grow up appreciating what I think is the best music in the world. And because of that, I'm very intimidated by anything in the music thing. Because like when you have a father who's a genius, like you tend to stay away from that thing he's a genius at because, why would I do that to myself? But no, I love the world of music, and I if I could find a way to write about it myself, I would love to. And if anything came up that I felt like I could do in the world of music, I would consider it. But like, I have a very high bar when it comes to that stuff, and I will never reach that bar. So I tend to just like stay away,
Your dad is also like Prince in that you could go on and on just about what is underrated in his career. Like he literally won Album of the Year for an album called Back on the Block, which has a song called One Man Woman on it, which has Saida Garrett, double Oscar nominee. Oh yeah, I love that song. You never hear that song. I was wondering what you think. Do you have favorite like deep cuts in your father's catalog? Stuff like that. Another song I love by him.
Oh,
yeah.
Stuff like the whole album, stuff like that's amazing. And so is The Dude.
Yes.
Like those two albums for me, I think maybe because it was like that is my most like amazing childhood memories are set to like both those records. Brothers Johnson, I think is also like that's early memories for me. And then all his like movie scores. He's got a lot of really incredible movie scores.
The beginning of his career. Yeah, right. The beginning of his career is like such a mindfuck too, who he collaborated with early on, like how it was so movie oriented before it became, the other Quincy Jones we know and love. Yes. Yeah.
It's also crazy. Like Thriller came out when he was 50. He produced the biggest selling album of all time when he was 50. I'm not even 50 yet. Like that's crazy. He had a whole career and a whole life in jazz and pop, but then like, that's kind of when it's supposed to happen. But these days it happens for young people. Like you're not 50 and making like you're not at the pinnacle of your career at 50,
No.
It's amazing.
No, to know cool things at 50. I don't know if you listen to podcasts, but people generally don't get cooler when they're moving up to 50. I'm keeping track of some of my colleagues.
I don't think that's just in podcasts. I think that's like in general, that's kind of true, I know that. I'm moving close to 50. I know. I'm feeling less cool every day.
It's so interesting to me, too, like, recording music for film, is that something that I feel like, were you a film person as well? Do you just call him like sort of like a film aficionado, or is it just you're making music for the film and you're not really that into cinema in general?
No, I grew up in Hollywood, in an era of Hollywood that was very different than it is now. There was no social media. There was no commingling between TikTok and movies. It was just, you had film and you had TV, and that was it. So, and it was the 70s and the 80s, which are in some ways the best era of cinema. 70s to me is like really, peak auteur, the most kind of experimenting across the board, American cinema and also European cinema, Japanese cinema. So yeah, no, I love movies.
And Japanese cinema and then Japanese culture. Were you immersed in sort of any interest in Japan before this series? Like, were you sort of, had you been there before? Or was this sort of a completely new experience for you?
I had been there before, and I think I'm not alone in saying when you go to Japan, and I know I'm not unique in this way, and you go, oh my God, this is where my soul lives. I want to be here all the time. This place is incredible. I know a lot of people feel that way. And to get the experience to actually live there is so different than just coming in and, wandering around in wonderment and amazement. And having to figure out like where you get your groceries and, how you're, like who you call when your AC breaks, or all that kind of stuff is a very different experience of living somewhere that you've romanticized for so long. But I will say, overall, it was like one of the most positive experiences of my life. The culture, Japanese culture, is so well preserved. Like there's a real sense of preservation of history and tradition, and also a forward motion and an innovation. Like they somehow managed to do both things, and they don't feel like they conflict with each other. And I'm not sure I know any other country like that. I won't mention ours by name, but we have a problem there.
Yes.
In our future. Anyway.
Sunny has been likened in certain ways to Black Mirror, which of course you wrote an episode of. And I was wondering in general, what inspires you to write? Because when I look back at your projects, they don't necessarily have anything in common, really. Like Celeste and Jesse Forever does not remind me of Black Mirror,
Yes, no, I know. I have a lot of personalities. I think I don't know. I mean, Black Mirror, I was just a huge fan of Charlie Brooker, the creator, and I just was like, whatever, I just want to be involved, whatever you do. And he called me when he was doing his first comedy episode, because that was somewhat new for him. And then I called Mike Schur because he's like a real comedy writer and my friend. And I was like, do you want to write this with me? But yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of like, to me, the if there's anything in common, maybe it's that there's like a relationship thing there. Like I like the exploration of kind of like the saddest, darkest, loneliest, most human corners of being alive. So like, the Black Mirror episode is about wanting to be liked. And like now it's, exaggerated by this rating system that makes it even harder to deal with the idea that maybe somebody won't like you, or maybe you'll fuck up and you'll, give a big embarrassing toast at your friend's wedding. Like that, to me, the root of that is wanting to be liked, is being codependent and needing people to like you. Or like Celeste and Jesse, it's like that relationship you have that you think is going to be the one that you're with that person for the rest of your life, and it doesn't work out, and it's the most devastating thing ever until the next devastating thing happens. But just like capturing that moment in time when you like finally have the first adult relationship in your life, and it doesn't work out, or just I like the kind of like humanity, the human interpersonal dynamics, regardless of the genre, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because I also recall that, which is wild to me to like think about it now, that you had a podcast with Bill Gates where you were just talking about the world and pondering like big questions with Bill Gates and Rashida Jones.
Casual podcasting, yeah. I mean, I said yes. I was like, okay, I'll do that. That sounds interesting.
I mean, was there something really fun about just, I don't know, talking to Bill Gates every time you recorded things? Like, did you come away from it, I guess, a new person, learning, thinking about the world differently?
Everything I do, I come away a new person, I mean, that's the hope. But yes, it was a fascinating experience. We couldn't be more different, which was kind of fun. And we would like get into it, and in a weird way, I think because he was kind of like, who are you? And I was kind of like, I know who you are, but who are you? We just, we had less at stake with each other, to just have these conversations with each other and other people. And obviously we think about things very differently. I think he comes from a data point of view. I'm very much interested in like the cultural point of view and how culture impacts everything, science, politics, socioeconomic status. Every conversation to me comes out of culture. He's thinking about it as a data set. So it was kind of fun to have those conversations. Yeah.
I mean, nowadays when we look back on Parks and Rec, it really feels like it now feels like what we consider Second City to be for SNL. Like all these people that's popped off from it and are now every which direction, whatever. Did it feel kind of like at the time, oh, here it is, like a meeting ground for people? I mean, obviously Amy Poehler was already really established then, but all these other people began there. Was there a sense of something percolating on that show immediately?
We always felt that way. It felt extremely special. I know that sounds like a rewriting of history, but it the whole time we worked on that show, we were so grateful of each other. We were so grateful of like how different everybody's comedy styles were. We were grateful of how deep our bench was. There were so many things to play. There were so many jokes to be had. And that was really a combination of Mike Schur and Greg Daniels and the writers having a really good relationship with the whole cast. And then, doing a great job casting all these kinds of unknowns who obviously went on to be these like mega stars, but in such different, alleys. So we were never stepping on each other's toes, on each other's rhythm. Like we were always just playing against each other. And then, there's just the reality that we were on must-see TV, NBC, and, maybe it was the beginning of the end in terms of TV and ratings and stuff, but we were never like a runaway hit when we were on primetime television. I think it was really after the fact when it was on Netflix and Peacock that people got to binge it and spend time with these people for 7 seasons that they started to love it. But we always felt like there was something special there. And we also like held on to each other because we weren't ever sure if the show was going to get picked up or come back or how many more episodes we'd have. So we really enjoyed those moments together. And I think you can tell.
By the way, an electric spark ran through me when you said the words must-see TV. Oh, my God, I miss when TV was exciting. Oh, my God. We all would agree on it and watch it.
Must see. Yeah. You actually must see it. Remember that?
It was a mandate. Yes, right.
Now you're like, what's TV? What's on it?
Yeah.
When do I have to watch it?
Where do I go to talk about it? Yeah, exactly.
Where do I go to see it even?
Yeah.
I mean, the idea
how many times a week, do you guys Google, how do I see X show on, like, where do I watch?
Oh, and you'll end up
all
anywhere.
the time.
Right, yeah, I have no idea. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy how hard it is to figure that out?
And yet you all see it on the same screen, too, so it's like a stupid question. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, even watching a movie these days, right? It's you have to Google what service it's on.
Yes.
Or if it's on one.
And then you have to download that app and pay for or sign up for the 1 free week to see the movie before you have to pay for the subscription. It's just like, it's a whole new world. It feels like it should be really easy to watch things now, and it's not.
I miss Blockbuster.
Yes,
is what I really miss.
I must sitting there looking at all the titles.
Yeah, like I'll pick so House Sitter with Goldie Hawn again. Yes.
Great movie.
A fabulous movie, yes.
My Blockbuster had for years when I was a kid, it had a one shelf with about 80 copies of Amadeus.
Right, yes.
So, I mean, talk about must-see TV.
Yeah.
That's what you're watching, I guess, right?
You have to, yes, right. It's what's available.
Good movie, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
A banger.
Banger. Young Cynthia Nixon, yes. Wait, before we let you go, I have one final question, which is, you obviously have a fabulous father. You have a fucking fabulous mom, too. Peggy Lipton, when I look back at, when I watch Mod Squad episodes, I'm like, oh my God, a television star. This is so exciting.
Yeah,
what an
icon.
Yes. Do you have any just rad memories of your mom to share with us?
She was the best, and always an icon. She was 19 or 20 when she did the Mod Squad. I think it was very overwhelming for her because there was 2 channels on TV, unlike now, and so everybody sat down to watch her show. So it was a lot for a young person. And then she was kind of just with our family. She gave it up and raised us, and then came back just casually on Twin Peaks, which is just like
Yeah.
help.
I'll just make the coolest
iconic.
decision
Yeah.
ever now. Yes, right.
Yeah. She just was. Yeah, she was like the ultimate cool girl, and it's not even anything you can manufacture. She just had that vibe about her, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I loved the Mod Squad. I got into it because I used to watch old TV shows all the time. Thank you, Nick at Night. But I just feel like it's so interesting. You bring up that cool girl aspect. That's a vibe of a show that doesn't really exist anymore. And then even Parks and Rec, it's so interesting rewatching it. It's fun to rewatch The Office or like 30 Rock, you know, but you rewatch Parks and Rec and it really does feel like a time capsule of an America that does not exist anymore.
Totally. It's hope. There's a lot of hope in that show. It's a very different time. And I think it's like that's the only time you could have made that show in a way, you know. We really capitalized on that. And I think, you know, comedy can be very cynical and, you know, like Sunny, it's dark, it's acerbic, it's wry. But there's a levity about Parks that's like, the main characters really believe in their cause. Like they really do collectively believe that there's good in people and there's good to be had in the world. And that's, you know, it's sad, but that's just, it's hard to come by these days, you know, it's hard to come by.
And on that deeply
That's such a
apocalyptic
downer.
note, thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's a terrible way to end it. But it's possible. It's possible because Parks and Rec is still on. You can still watch it. So, and also just to say, Sunny is a little dark, but it isn't totally pessimistic. It's not totally nihilistic. Like
Right.
My relationship with Sunny, even though you're like, is she violent? Is she just a robot? Is she becoming sentient? Is she my friend? Is she not? Like, it's not, there's not a clear answer. It's very complicated. And I feel like that's a little bit of like a parable for humanity too. Like we're complicated too. We're flawed. We're hard to love. You know, like we might have that problem with technology, but we've always had that problem with people. And like, you kind of do have to push through that because caring about people, being connected to people or robots is kind of the reason we're here, you know? That's a nice note.
Yes,
to end
thank
on,
you.
right?
Yeah, very Jerry Springer final thought. You know, you just saw somebody get a chair thrown at them, but by the way, I have something cute to say about it.
Fair enough. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here. God. Also, we were saying before, can't believe you haven't been here before. You're such a fabulous interviewee anyway, so it's so cool to talk to you.
Thank you. It was super fun. So fun to talk to you guys.
Also, tell Ezra to come back. We miss him.
he was on
I
our
will.
yes.
I'll tell him. He's busy, but I'll tell him.
I know,
He says hi, by the way.
And tell him to play.
thank you.
What's the song we agreed we both? Oh, we both love Mississippi Woman, Louisiana Woman, Mississippi Man by Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn. Tell him to play that for me.
Oh, you guys can do a little duet.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
I will be
Yeah.
Loretta.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.